Hey, my beautiful Momplex community, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Scotty. I'm so happy you're here. This is where we get real about what it means to be a human, a mom, an adult who's dealing with life, who's dealing with kids, who's dealing with just unexpected curveballs and all the things. And how do you show up as your highest self? How do you live that soul-led life? How do you show up to deal with life in a way that feels really good to you? And all the while showing up at your best, getting all the stuff that you want to get done while raising incredible, sometimes infuriating, but always unique, magnificent humans we call our kids. I'm Scotty. I'm your host and your fellow badass mama. I'm here to remind you that you deserve to thrive, not just to survive. You deserve to be more, you are more significant than the things you check off of your to-do list. You're more significant and have more of a purpose to be here than what your kids are accomplishing, right? Like while they feel oftentimes like an extension of us, they are not us. They are themselves. They are independent, beautiful human beings that, yes, we gave birth to or we decided to raise, but they have willpower and so do we. And we're not responsible and accountable for every little thing that they do, good or bad. And so every time I show up to Momplex, I just want to remind you that you deserve to live a life that is created for you. And when you follow what feels good to you, when you follow your heart and you do the things that light you up, inevitably, you become a much more powerful version of yourself to show up for your kids, for your work, for your relationships. Actually, the more you trust yourself, the more you follow your heart, the more you're able to give to the people that need you. For the longest time, I believed that if I just gave, I was like an ATM machine, just constantly pouring cash out of energy, patience, love, and everything to the people around me. I thought that's what it meant to be a good mom. But then it just left me completely exhausted, completely burned out, completely depleted. I have since found my way back to me. I have learned how to live a soul-led life. I practice it every single day. And that's why I show up on here talking to you, because I want you to realize that this is available for you too, right? I mean, for the longest time, I thought being a good mom meant pushing myself to the edge. I believe the more tired I was, the more I must be caring about them, right? I didn't care about how I felt on the inside. And in fact, I thought if I just looked like a really good mom, then I must be a really good mom. If other moms saw me as a really good mom, then I must be a really good mom. But I never stopped to say, well, how do I feel about it? Do I feel like I am showing up at my best? So this is why I'm showing up here every single day, because I've been able to move away from the perception of being a good mom, where I don't crave the praise anymore. Like those comments, gosh, wow, you're doing so much. I could never do what you're doing. You're a superhuman. I needed that validation because I felt so shitty on the inside, because I felt so unfulfilled, because I was so disconnected from myself. I needed some fuel. And I was dependent on that fuel from things outside of me, not inside of me. I've completely shifted that. And that's what I want to talk about, because now I know better. Now I know that the better I feel about myself deep down where it matters, the better I show up for my kids. And so it's really this beautiful shift. And I'll tell you this, my kids haven't felt like they've missed a beat with me. I have not, because I've been focusing on myself, I have not missed taking care of them. In fact, I have more patience and more energy and more ability to handle what they're going through. I mean, honestly, my formula before was give everything of myself, just react to life like a chicken with my head cut off. I was constantly living in fight or flight. When we're living in stress, when we're living in anxiety, when we're living a less than, connected to our highest self life, when we're living in fight or flight, we cannot digest information. We cannot digest food. We cannot heal. We cannot process. We cannot problem solve. So think about that. If you are constantly neglecting yourself and just reacting to life and just living in fight or flight, that's the version of you that's showing up to raise your kids. How amazing will it be when you show up to raise your kids from a place that feels incredibly calm and peaceful and confident, and you're not living in fight or flight? And then all of a sudden you can problem solve, you can heal, you can digest information. So then we all know life is always going to life. Shit's always going to happen. Oh, disclaimer, I curse. We're always going to get dealt with curveballs, things that we can't control. I mean, my gosh, the people in our own life, people on the street, people we come into contact with, so many people react in a way that we don't feel is good enough for us, right? There's a lot of stuff that we can't control. What can we control? How we show up to life, how we show up for our kids, how we show up for ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we think about ourselves, the decisions we make, the choices we make. We have way more control over our life than we're giving ourselves credit for. And the way you talk to yourself, the way you view yourself, the way you see yourself in your world, this creates your results, right? Because our subconscious, our beliefs about ourselves, this forms our identity about ourselves. Our identity, this forms our action steps. This is the choices that we make. Our action steps form our habits and our lifestyle, which creates our results. Ergo, our own beliefs, our own subconscious is creating our results, right? So when you shift that belief that in order to be a good mom, I have to feel like shit and put myself last and just give, to in order to show up at my best for my kids, I've got to show up at my best for me. What a difference. It's a slight belief change, but what a difference in how it's going to affect how you show up, what action steps you take, what habits you create, and what results you get. You have way more control over your results than you're giving yourself credit for. And it's not your self-worth. Your significant is not dependent on how much shit you get done in a day and if someone else tells you that you're doing a good job. Your self-worth is decided by you. Your love, everything that you need and everything that you want is created by you. And what other people choose to give to us, that's lagniappe, right? Like that's a bonus. That's a gift. In fact, I posted this yesterday and I love it. I want to read it to you because I think this really is probably my mantra right now. And I think it's so important. Your worth isn't handed to you. It's claimed. The world doesn't get to decide how valuable you are. You do. So stand tall, know your value, and live unapologetically in your truth. I love that so much. And I think even that, gosh, let those words sink in for a second, because think about that. If you decide to live that way, you then will be able to embody that and become the essence of that, which then you will then give to your kids, because 100%, they emulate us. Even in fact, they absorb more of what we're doing and how we're acting and our own beliefs than our own actions, honestly. But now I know better. And this is why I want to talk to you about this. I want to dive into why taking care of yourself, living a soul-led life isn't just a game changer for you, but it's a complete gift to your kids. And this is really going to debunk this myth that self-care is selfish, that it's, their happiness is all we need. Bullshit. Of course you want your kids to be happy, but they're living their own independent lives. Their action steps are not all you need to feel worthy of your life. You get to live your life and help your kids live their life at the same time. That's the beautiful gift. So today we're diving into that. So if you've ever wondered, what's the point of all this inner work and woo-woo stuff? If I'm just trying to keep my family afloat, then this episode is for you. Because I want to talk about breaking these generational cycles of burnout, learning to trust your gut feeling, and raise the kids who don't just follow the rules, but follow their hearts. So let's get into it. What does it mean to live your highest vibe life? What does it mean to live soul-led? If this is not split words like woo-woo and soul-led and highest self and high vibration, if this is not in your everyday vocabulary, don't worry. It doesn't have to be. Just think about this as showing up to your life, feeling your best, and trusting yourself and asking yourself for your own opinion before asking others, right? Living soul-led is about turning into that inner voice, that whisper inside that knows what you truly need. Not just what society, your mother-in-law, your best friend, or Instagram, or even me, that loud voice in your own head tells you should do. It's about making decisions from a place of alignment with your deepest values, not just following the herd or the endless to-do list or even what your mom did. It's about figuring out what makes the most sense for you. And let's be real here. As Gen X moms and moms of teens, we've spent our whole lives being told to be practical, to follow the plan, to work hard, and then maybe you'll be happy. It's been a very no pain, no gain type of life. And while I do believe that anything worth doing takes action, takes time, takes intention, takes effort, we're getting so smart and we're learning that we can actually build and grow and change and create without suffering, right? Let's take going to the gym, for example. You can go to the gym and find a workout that pushes your muscles, pushes you physically, pushes your mental capacity, but it doesn't have to suck. Yes, it's hard work, but when you set the intentions and create a workout that actually is fun and lights you up, you're still creating change and growth, but you're not beating yourself up and treating yourself like shit in the meantime. This is how life can be. We're becoming so wise. When we lived in this no pain, no gain, that you had to always be practical and follow the rules and always spend our time up in our ego and not in our heart, or in like not questioning what somebody did before us or not questioning the rules. That's a recipe for burnout. And I know so many of you are feeling that burnout. I've been there too. Because there's a difference between intuition and the mind, and the difference really matters. And when we want to heal burnout, when we want to write our own rules and show up at our best, this is where intuition comes in. That gut feeling, that inner knowing. This is one of your most powerful weapons, not just in your life, but also in raising your kids. It's that nudge to go left when your mind or everybody else is going right. The mind, it's so loud. I mean, our ego is so loud. It wants certainty. It wants validation. It wants evidence. It wants a plan. It doesn't want to be in danger. It doesn't want change, but it's motivated by fear. It's motivated by the fear of messing up, the fear of judgment, the fear of letting go, the fear of failure. But intuition, it's very subtle. It's calm. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It's like this wise old friend who has seen it all, who has been there, but who knows there's like this surrender, this trust, this belief that, gosh, you just know deep down inside of you, this is the right path. This is the right decision. Because when you're soul led, you trust that voice more than the noise in your head. And when you do that, guess what? Your kids notice. They see you trusting yourself. They learn that it's okay to follow that nudge and trust their own inner voice, that even if it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's necessarily the right fit for them. And they learn that making decisions isn't always about logic or checklists. It's about what feels right deep in their bones. And we all know that life is going to just keep lifing. And if our kids are going out in the world, you want to make sure that they trust their head on that shoulders. They trust their inner gut. They trust that inner wisdom, right? So, I mean, if somebody says, let's go to this party, we're going to go get into this car with strange people. If your child has that ping in their stomach, like, I don't think that's the right decision, we want them to have the confidence that they can back that up, that they trust themselves enough to listen to that versus listening to the peer pressure. So living soul led not only will help you heal your burnout, will help you build inner confidence, and will help you trust yourself and not need external validation to feel worthy and significant. But when you choose to live in alignment, you show your kids that life isn't about running on autopilot and only about pleasing other people and external perception. Honestly, when you live soul led, you could care less what other people think about you or what they perceive about you, because you know that you're living from your best, highest vibe and most loving and most authentic place. And when you have that connection, your opinion matters more than anybody else's. And to practice trusting your intuition, it's about pausing before you act. It's about listening to that inner voice and taking action from that place that feels really true, like from the core of your body. When you're living soul led and you're trusting your gut, it's like you're living from your heart, not from like your ego. And so you feel like life is coming from you and through you rather than at you. And here's the kicker. Kids are born intuitive. We all are. They haven't had all these layers of conditioning like we have. They get it. And there's an innocence and a power that they're in, an authenticity that they have available to them. It's not as deeply buried in their bodies as it is for us, but they learn from watching us. So if you're allowing society and your parents and other people to condition you, you're going to pass those habits and that lifestyle onto your kids because they're watching. So if they see us constantly stressed, ignoring that gut feeling because we're too busy keeping up with expectations, they will learn that's how life is supposed to be. But when they see us pausing, reflecting, making the choices that feel good to us, even if they aren't always the easy choices, they start to understand that it's okay for them to trust themselves. Think about it. Wouldn't you have loved seeing that kind of role model for yourself as a teenager? Someone who taught you that it's okay to follow your own path, even if it's different from everybody else's, and that your self-worth is from within, not from without, from outside of us. So how do we do that? How do we break the cycle of burnout? Please, because it's so freaking time. I love you, but please listen, burnout is so last season. If you're still living a life of burnout that is exhausting you and you're feeling just waking up tired every single day, it's time to hit pause and figure out what the fuck needs to change. You're an adult. You're too mature, you're too amazing, and you're too damn worthy to keep feeling like crap and running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And you're too grown up to be putting this on anybody else. It's time to turn in and take the responsibility. If you don't feel the way you want to feel, let's do something about it. And it's been proven. I'm proof of it. You don't have to be an exhausted, people-pleasing doormat to live your best life. That's precisely what's holding you back. You have all the power to make the changes that will finally end that burnout cycle. If you're feeling burned out, it's time to stop pointing fingers at your parents, at society, at other things, your kids, your husband, your partner, the schedule. We've got to almost step back, look at our life and say, wait a second, I don't feel the way I want to feel. I'm literally in my late 40s. My kids, they're teenagers. When is it time? If it's not time today, when is it time to start taking back and feeling more in control of my life and actually owning it and building that confidence? We've all been there, running on empty, doing everything for all the people, wondering why we feel so disconnected from ourselves. But when we choose to live a soul-led life, you're breaking that cycle. You're showing your kids that being strong isn't about pushing through, checking things off a list, ignoring your body, ignoring what your heart is saying, and only worrying about what other people think. It's about knowing when to rest, when to recharge, and when to say, nope, not today, and when to trust your body because it's so damn wise. And it shows that being true to yourself, that is the definition of strength. That's the legacy that we want to pass on. Kids who grow up knowing they don't have to sacrifice themselves to fit in, they don't have to change to be loved or to succeed or to belong. In fact, the more authentic we are, the more we find the people that are our energetic match. And when we find those people, gosh, we've never belonged more than ever. So trusting your intuition, it's actually helping your kids trust theirs. So how do you start? As always, like any habit, start small, start slow. You start by listening to those little nudges. Maybe it's taking that walk when you feel restless instead of tackling the dishes. Maybe it's saying yes to that spontaneous day off with your kids because your gut tells you that's what you need and you're just craving some fun. Maybe it's asking for help from your partner or your sibling or your friends because you're just feeling exhausted and you just need some relief. The more you listen, the clearer your intuition gets. It's like a muscle. It's like exercising. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. We all have intuition. We all have a gut, every single one of us. And as you do this, you start to show up with more energy, more confidence, more self-assurance, and a higher vibration energy, and you get to share that with your kids. You also get to tell them, like, my gut told me to say no. My gut told me to take a left instead of a right, and I'm so glad I listened. Show them that their feelings and instincts aren't things to ignore. They're things to honor. And it's really helpful when life is not working out the way you thought it should. When you have this inner knowing that, and this belief and this surrender that things will work out, it helps you handle it when you're in a tough season of life and you haven't seen the lesson or the benefit, or maybe you don't always see, it's like, especially with kids going to college, it's a guarantee they're going to get rejected from some schools they want to. That's really hard. So how can we help them through it? We can't change the outcome and make them get into a college they're not supposed to be getting into, but we can help them learn to lean into things. We can help them learn to tune in versus tuning out when life gets hard. And that's one of the best skills that we can give ourselves. Living soul-led isn't just about you. Taking care of yourself isn't just about you. Finding things that light you up, that make you love life, that make you appreciate living, that make you feel thankful that you woke up today with air in your lungs and that this is a beautiful special occasion because you're still alive. It's about changing the whole vibe of your household. It's about creating a new normal where trusting yourself is the default, not the exception. And that, my friends, that's the game changer. It's the legacy we get to pass on. And it's how we raise our kids to trust themselves. How we help our kids feel empowered and confident and self-assured and know that they're allowed to live a life that feels right to them. And they don't need permission from society or other people to do that. So let's flip the script. Let's be the generation that shows our kids that real power isn't in the hustle. It isn't an external validation. It's in alignment. When the better you feel, the better you show up to your life. Because when you live a soul-led life, you don't just change your life, you change theirs too. It gets me so excited because you have so much available to you and you're worth it all. And I'm just over here already holding this space for you. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this information. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening to Momplex. If this episode hits home, please leave me a review. It means so much and it helps this episode reach other people listening to podcasts. Also, please share with a fellow mom who needs this reminder. If you want to post it on social media, I would be beyond grateful. And if you're ready to dive deeper into a living soul-led, you know where to find me. I'd love to connect with you and talk about ways for you to build that relationship with your intuition and your soul and trusting your gut. Until next time, keep trusting those whispers, mamas, and you've got this. I love you.